My wife said they married me because they couldn't marry my sister. I can't do this anymore, Marcus. I can't keep pretending. Sarah's voice cracked as she hurled my coffee mug against the kitchen wall, sending ceramic shards skittering across our hardwood floor. It was 7:23 a.m. on what should have been a normal Tuesday morning in our suburban Phoenix townhouse. I stood there in my wrinkled button-down, laptop bag still slung over my shoulder, trying to process what had just escalated from a simple question about why she'd been so distant lately. Pretending what exactly? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. 3 years of marriage had taught me that Sarah's outbursts usually burned themselves out if I didn't add fuel to the fire. She laughed bitterly, running her hands through her auburn hair, the same hair I used to love watching catch the morning sunlight streaming through our bedroom window. God, you really don't see it, do you? You never have. See what, Sarah? I asked you a simple question about why you've been staying late at work every night this week, and you're acting like I accused you of having an affair. An affair? She whirled around to face me, her green eyes blazing with something I couldn't identify. That would actually be easier to explain. My stomach dropped. In the 18 months we'd dated before getting married, and the 3 years since, I'd never seen this look on her face. It wasn't anger, it was something rawer, more desperate. Like someone who'd been holding their breath underwater for too long and finally had to surface. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Sarah collapsed into one of our kitchen chairs, the same ones we'd picked out together at IKEA during our first year of marriage. She'd insisted on the light oak finish because it reminded her of her childhood home in Oregon. Now she looked small sitting there, almost fragile, which was wrong because Sarah Martinez Henderson was anything but fragile. She was a senior marketing executive who regularly commanded boardrooms full of executives twice her age. She was the woman who had proposed to me on our hiking trip to Sedona because she said she was tired of waiting for me to work up the courage. I married the wrong person, she whispered, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. The words hit me like a physical blow. I set my laptop bag down carefully on the counter, my engineering brain already trying to debug this conversation, searching for the logical error that would make everything make sense again. What do you mean, the wrong person? Sarah, what's going on? She looked up at me then, and I saw tears streaming down her cheeks. In 3 years of marriage, I'd seen Sarah cry exactly twice, once at her grandmother's funeral, and once during the final episode of some Netflix series about time travelers. I should have married Emma, she said, the words falling into our kitchen like stones into still water. I should have married your sister. The coffee maker chose that moment to finish brewing, filling the silence with its cheerful beeping. Such a normal sound in what had suddenly become the most surreal conversation of my life. I stared at my wife who had just told me she wished she'd married my lesbian sister, and felt something fundamental shift inside my chest. Emma's gay, Sarah. I know, she whispered. I've always known. The words hung in the air between us like smoke from an electrical fire, acrid and impossible to ignore. I found myself gripping the granite countertop so hard my knuckles went white. You've always known, I repeated slowly, trying to make sense of what she just admitted. Emma came out to our family when she was 16. That was 13 years ago. We didn't even meet until 5 years ago at Jake's wedding. Sarah's laugh was hollow, brittle. I know exactly when we met, Marcus. September 15th, 2018. You were wearing a navy blue suit with a silver tie, and you spilled champagne on your shoes during the father-daughter dance. The specificity of her memory should have been flattering. Instead, it sent ice water through my veins. How do you remember it so clearly? Because that was the night I met Emma. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand, smearing her carefully applied makeup. Your sister was wearing this emerald green dress, and when she laughed at something your cousin said, I knew. I knew I was in trouble. I felt like I was watching our entire relationship get fed through a paper shredder, one precious memory at a time. But you asked me to dance. You gave me your number. Emma mentioned during dinner that she lived in Seattle and wasn't seeing anyone seriously. Then your Aunt Carol made some comment about how it was such a shame Emma preferred girls because she'd make some lucky man very happy someday. Sarah's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. That's when I knew it was hopeless. The pieces started clicking together with horrible clarity. So you what? Settled for me instead? It wasn't supposed to be settling. Sarah stood up abruptly, knocking her chair back. I thought. God, Marcus, I thought if I couldn't have her, maybe I could have the next best thing. You have the same laugh, the same way of tilting your head when you're thinking. The same stupid habit of making terrible puns when you're nervous. The same last name, I added, my voice flat. She flinched like I'd slapped her. It wasn't just about that. Wasn't it? Jesus, Sarah, is that why you were so eager to take my name when we got married? Sarah Henderson instead of Sarah Martinez because it made you feel closer to Emma Henderson. The guilty look that flashed across her face was answer enough. I thought about our wedding day, how radiant Sarah had looked walking down the aisle at the Desert Botanical Garden. How she'd insisted on having Emma as one of her bridesmaids even though they'd only met a handful of times. How she'd specifically requested that Emma give a reading during the ceremony, that poem by Pablo Neruda that I thought was romantic but now realized might have been Sarah's way of confessing her feelings to someone who could never reciprocate them. All those times you insisted on visiting my family in Seattle, I said, the pattern becoming clearer with each memory I examined. The surprise trip for Emma's 28th birthday last year. The way you always volunteer to help her move apartments, fix her computer, whatever excuse you can find to spend time with her. Stop, Sarah pleaded. But I couldn't stop. 3 years of marriage were recontextualizing themselves in real time, and I felt sick. Our honeymoon in Portland. You insisted we had to visit Emma even though she was only 2 hours away and we'd literally just seen her at the wedding 2 days before. Marcus, please. You've been using me as an excuse to stay close to my sister for our entire relationship. Sarah's shoulders sagged in defeat. Yes. The word hung in our kitchen like a death sentence. Yes. 3 years of marriage, countless family gatherings, weekend trips to Seattle, late-night conversations about our future children who would never exist, all of it had been an elaborate performance so my wife could maintain access to my sister. How long were you planning to keep this up? My voice sounded strange to my own ears, distant and clinical. The same tone I used when debugging particularly stubborn code problems at work. Sarah wiped her eyes, leaving dark streaks of mascara across her cheekbones. I don't know. Forever, I guess. I thought maybe eventually I'd fall in love with you for real. That the feelings for Emma would fade. And did they? Fade? She looked away, focusing on the coffee stain spreading across our white kitchen wall where her mug had shattered. That was answer enough. Jesus Christ, Sarah. I started pacing, my dress shoes crunching over ceramic fragments. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? To us? I never meant for it to go this far, she said quickly. That first night at Jake's wedding, I was just going to dance with you once and then forget about your whole family. But you were so sweet, and you looked so much like her, and when you asked if you could call me, you saw an opportunity. I saw a chance to maybe know her better. Just as a friend, Marcus. I swear I never intended to. To marry me under false pretenses. To waste 3 years of my life because you couldn't accept that my sister is gay. Sarah's face crumpled. You don't understand. I've never felt this way about anyone. When Emma talks about her work at the environmental nonprofit, or when she gets excited about some new hiking trail, her whole face lights up and I just... She pressed her hands against her chest like she was trying to hold something inside. I've been in love with her since the moment we met. The casual way she said it, like she was discussing the weather, made everything worse. I thought about all the times Sarah had encouraged me to call Emma, to invite her to visit, to include her in our vacation plans. How she'd beam whenever Emma texted our group chat, how she'd screenshot Emma's Instagram posts to show me later. The anniversary party, I said suddenly, remembering. Our 3rd anniversary party on Saturday. You invited Emma specifically. Sarah nodded miserably. She said she might not be able to make it because of some work thing, but I... She trailed off, seeming to realize how this sounded. But you what? I may have told her that you were going through a rough patch at work and really needed family support right now. I stared at my wife, this woman I'd shared a bed with for 3 years, who knew that I liked my coffee with exactly 1 sugar cube and got anxious during thunderstorms, and realized I didn't know her at all. You lied to my sister to manipulate her into coming to our anniversary party. I just wanted her there, Sarah whispered. I wanted one more chance to. To what? Confess your feelings. Break up our marriage publicly. What exactly was your endgame here, Sarah? She didn't answer, but something shifted in her expression. A flicker of something that looked almost like hope, which made my stomach turn. I pulled out my phone and checked the time, 7:41 a.m. In 18 hours, I was supposed to be celebrating 3 years of marriage with this woman in front of both our families. Instead, I was learning that our entire relationship had been an elaborate lie designed to give her access to someone she could never have. I stood there looking at Sarah, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and felt something cold and calculating settle in my chest. The hurt was still there, Christ, it felt like someone had reached inside me and rearranged my organs, but underneath it was something sharper. Something that wanted to hurt back. The anniversary party is still happening, I said quietly. Sarah looked up, confused. Marcus, we can't have a party now. Not after. Why not? You wanted Emma there so badly you lied to get her to come. Well, she'll be there Saturday night at 7 p.m., just like you planned. Along with both sets of parents, your sister flying in from Denver, my cousins, everyone who celebrated our wedding 3 years ago. What are you saying? I walked over to the kitchen window, looking out at Mrs. Patterson walking her ancient golden retriever like she did every morning at 7:45 a.m. sharp. Such a normal sight. Amazing how the world just kept spinning when your life imploded. I'm saying we're going to have our anniversary party exactly as planned. We'll smile for photos, cut the cake your mom spent all week baking, give our little speeches about how grateful we are for 3 wonderful years of marriage. Sarah stood up slowly, her face pale. Marcus, you're scaring me. Good. I turned back to face her. Do you know what the worst part of this is, Sarah? It's not even that you used me. It's that you're so fucking delusional you actually thought this could work. That Emma would suddenly decide she's not gay because you married her brother. That's not. What did you think would happen? That she'd see you playing house with me and realize she'd made a terrible mistake. That she'd beg you to leave me for her. Sarah's silence was damning. I could see in her face that some part of her had actually entertained that exact fantasy. Jesus. You really did think that. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Emma doesn't even know, does she? She has no idea that her brother's wife has been stalking her for 3 years. I wasn't stalking. What would you call it? You memorized her work schedule, her favorite restaurants, her friends' names. You know more about Emma's life than I do, and she's my sister. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. I just paid attention. I care about her. You're obsessed with her. There's a difference. I started pacing again, my mind working through the implications. How many of our conversations about Emma were you fishing for information? When I mentioned she was dating that girl Rebecca last spring, you asked a lot of questions about their relationship. I was just being friendly. You asked if they seemed serious. If Emma had ever mentioned wanting to settle down. If she'd brought Rebecca to family events. The memories were crystal clear now, every seemingly innocent question taking on a sinister edge. You were gathering intelligence. Sarah's composure cracked further. You make it sound so calculated. Because it was calculated. You married me to get close to Emma, and when that wasn't enough, you started mining me for details about her personal life. I stopped pacing and looked directly at her. Tell me something, Sarah. When we have sex, who are you thinking about? She flinched like I'd struck her. That's not fair. Fair. You want to talk about fair? I could hear my voice rising but couldn't seem to control it. Is it fair that I've spent 3 years wondering why my wife seems so distant? Is it fair that I blamed myself for not being enough for you? You are enough, she whispered. You're a good man, Marcus. You deserve better than this. Yeah, I do. And on Saturday night, I'm going to get it. Sarah's face went white. What do you mean? I pulled my phone out again, not to check the time but to open the voice recorder app. I mean, Emma deserves to know the truth about why you've been so invested in her life. And our families deserve to know why we're really getting divorced. Divorced? Sarah's voice cracked. Marcus, please, can't we talk about this? Maybe we can work through. Work through what? The fact that you married me under completely false pretenses. That you've been emotionally cheating on me with my sister for 3 years, even though she doesn't know it. I shook my head. There's nothing to work through, Sarah. This marriage was over before it started. She moved toward me, reaching out like she was going to touch my arm, then seemed to think better of it. I know I messed up. I know this is all wrong. But Marcus, I do care about you. These 3 years haven't been completely fake. Really? Name one thing you love about me that isn't something I have in common with Emma. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Sarah opened her mouth twice before finally whispering, that's not fair. It's a simple question. One thing, Sarah. One personality trait, one quirk, one aspect of who I am as an individual person that made you want to marry me. I watched her face cycle through confusion, panic, and something that looked almost like genuine surprise, as if she was realizing for the first time that she couldn't answer. You're stable, she finally said. You're reliable. Those aren't qualities someone falls in love with. Those are qualities someone settles for. I set my phone down on the counter, the voice recorder app still open. Try again. Why are you doing this to me, she asked, tears starting fresh. I told you the truth. Isn't that worth something? You told me the truth because you had a breakdown, not because you chose to be honest. How long would you have kept lying if you hadn't snapped this morning? Sarah slumped back into her chair. I don't know. Maybe forever. See, that's what I thought. I picked up my laptop bag again. I'm going to work. When I get home tonight, we're going to have another conversation. And this time, you're going to tell me everything. Everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every time you used information about Emma that you got from me. Every time you suggested we visit Seattle or invite her here. Every family gathering where you positioned yourself to spend time with her. I headed toward the garage door, then stopped. And Sarah? Don't even think about calling Emma to warn her or try to explain. She'll hear it from me first. Marcus, wait. Sarah jumped up, knocking over her chair again. What are you planning to do at the party? I turned back to face her one last time. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who they've been celebrating for the past 3 years. Especially Emma. You can't tell her, Sarah said desperately. It'll ruin everything. She'll never want to see either of us again. She'll never want to see you again, I corrected. I'm her brother. Blood trumps whatever weird obsession you've built up in your head. Please don't do this. I'm begging you. The desperation in her voice should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it crystallized something that had been building since she'd said she should have married Emma. Sarah had spent 3 years treating me like a consolation prize, like a discount version of someone she actually wanted. She'd used my love for her as a weapon against my own family. You should have thought about consequences before you decided to waste 3 years of my life, I said. See you tonight, Sarah. And remember, don't call Emma. I left her standing in our kitchen surrounded by broken ceramic and the ruins of our marriage, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe clearly. The drive to work passed in a blur of Phoenix traffic and racing thoughts. By the time I pulled into the parking garage at Stellar Solutions, our mid-sized software company in Tempe, my hands had stopped shaking but my mind was still reeling. I sat in my Honda Civic for a full 10 minutes, staring at the concrete wall and trying to process what had just happened. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, *Marcus, please don't do anything rash. We can fix this, *. I deleted it without responding and headed up to the 3rd floor, where my team was already deep into our morning stand-up meeting. My manager, Dave, gave me a questioning look as I slipped in late, but I just nodded and tried to focus on updates about database optimization and API endpoints. Normal work problems that had clear solutions, unlike the disaster my personal life had become. You good, man? Asked Priya, my cubicle neighbor, after the meeting broke up. You look like you've seen a ghost. Something like that, I muttered, settling at my desk and opening my laptop. But instead of diving into the ticket queue, I found myself staring at my phone, scrolling through 3 years of text messages with Emma. The pattern Sarah had described was all there, hidden in plain sight. Every time I'd mentioned Emma was having a rough week at work, Sarah would suggest we send her a care package. When Emma posted on Instagram about training for a half marathon, Sarah had immediately wanted to sign us up for the same race in Seattle, to support her. Last Christmas, when Emma casually mentioned she was thinking about getting a cat, Sarah had spent hours researching pet stores in Seattle and texting me links to cute adoption stories. At 11:47 a.m., my phone rang. Emma's name flashed on the screen, and my stomach dropped. Hey, big brother, Emma's voice was cheerful, completely unaware that her world was about to shift. Sarah texted me this morning saying you've been really stressed about the Morrison project deadline. Is everything okay? I closed my eyes, feeling a fresh wave of anger at my wife. Even after our confrontation, even after I'd explicitly told her not to contact Emma, she'd gone ahead and reached out. Probably spinning some story about my mental state to explain away any weird behavior. Emma, did Sarah say anything else in her text? Just that she was worried about you and thought having family around this weekend might help. She suggested maybe I could come down a day early for your anniversary party, help with setup or whatever. Emma paused. Marcus, you're kind of freaking me out. What's going on? I stared at my computer screen, lines of code blurring together. In 12 hours, I'd planned to confront Sarah again and record her admitting everything. But she was already trying to control the narrative, already positioning herself as the concerned wife managing her husband's stress. Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Okay. How do you feel about Sarah? I mean, really feel about her. Not as your sister-in-law, but as a person. There was a long pause. That's kind of a weird question, Marcus. Why? Just answer it. Please. Another pause, longer this time. I mean, she's great. She's always been really supportive, maybe almost too much sometimes. Like, she texts me more than you do, which is saying something. And she always wants to hang out when you guys visit, which is sweet but sometimes feels a little intense. My blood went cold. Intense how? I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like last time you were here, you fell asleep watching that documentary about climate change, and Sarah and I stayed up talking until like 2 a.m. She kept asking really personal questions about my dating life, my plans for the future, whether I ever thought about moving back to Phoenix. Emma's voice grew uncertain. At the time I thought she was just being friendly, but looking back, it felt almost like... Like what? Like an interview. Or like she was fishing for something specific. Emma was quiet for a moment. Marcus, why are you asking me this? Did something happen between you and Sarah? I looked around the office, Priya debugging code 3 feet away, Dave in his glass office reviewing sprint reports, the familiar hum of keyboards and muted phone conversations. My normal Tuesday morning world, completely unchanged while my personal life imploded. Yeah, I said finally. Something happened. But I can't talk about it over the phone. Are you still planning to come down Saturday for the party? Of course. I already booked my flight for Friday afternoon. Emma's concern was palpable even through the phone. Marcus, you're really scaring me. Good, I said, echoing what I'd told Sarah that morning. Emma, I need you to do something for me. Don't respond to any more texts from Sarah between now and Saturday. Can you do that? What? Why would? Please. Just trust me on this. If she calls, don't answer. If she shows up at your apartment, don't let her in. Jesus, Marcus, what the hell is going on? You're talking like she's dangerous or something. I thought about Sarah's obsession, her 3-year campaign to insert herself into Emma's life, her complete disregard for both Emma's sexuality and my feelings. Maybe dangerous wasn't the wrong word. Just promise me, I said. Saturday night, everything will make sense. But until then, no contact with Sarah. Okay, Emma said reluctantly. I promise. But Marcus? Whatever's happening, we'll figure it out. You know that, right? After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone for another 10 minutes. Sarah had already broken her promise not to contact Emma. She was still trying to manipulate the situation, still treating me like a problem to be managed rather than a person she betrayed. At 2:15 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Another text from Sarah, *I know you're angry but please think about what you're doing. This will hurt Emma too, *. This time, instead of deleting it, I screenshot it. Evidence of her continued manipulation, her assumption that she knew what was best for everyone involved. I opened a new note on my phone and started typing a list of questions for tonight's conversation. Every detail I needed, every lie I wanted exposed, every moment over the past 3 years that would take on new meaning once I understood Sarah's true motivations. By 5 p.m., I had 17 questions and a plan that would ensure Saturday night's anniversary party became something nobody would ever forget. The drive home felt like approaching a crime scene. Every red light gave me more time to rehearse the questions I'd written down, each one designed to strip away another layer of Sarah's deception. By the time I pulled into our driveway at 6:23 p.m., I had my phone ready to record and a legal pad full of notes that would ensure I got every detail. Sarah was waiting in the living room, perched on the edge of our gray sectional couch like she was ready to bolt. She'd changed out of her work clothes into jeans and an oversized sweater, the same emerald green one she'd worn to Emma's birthday dinner last year. Even now, even after everything, she was still trying to connect herself to my sister through fabric choices. I ordered Thai food from that place on Mill Avenue, she said without looking at me. Pad Thai with chicken, extra peanuts, just how you like it. I'm not hungry. I set my laptop bag down and remained standing. And we're not having a casual dinner conversation. This is an interrogation. Sarah flinched. Marcus, please. Can't we just... Question 1, I interrupted, pulling out my phone and starting the recording app. How many times have you driven by Emma's office in Seattle when we visited? What? Sarah's face went pale. I don't understand. It's a simple question. You always volunteer to run errands when we're visiting my parents. Coffee runs, grocery stops, picking up dry cleaning. How many times have you taken detours past the Cascade Environmental Group offices on Pine Street? The guilty look that flashed across Sarah's face told me everything. Once or twice. Maybe 3 times. Try again. Last April when we were there for Mom's birthday, you went to get coffee and came back 45 minutes later with drinks from a place that was 2 blocks from Emma's work, even though there were 5 closer options to my parents' house. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. I just wanted to see where she worked. There's nothing wrong with that. Question 2. Emma's ex-girlfriend Rebecca. You asked me a lot of questions about their breakup last summer. What did you do with that information? I didn't do anything with it. Sarah. I stepped closer, and she shrank back into the couch. I found out today that Emma thinks you're intense. She mentioned you ask a lot of personal questions. So I'm going to ask you one more time, what did you do with the information about Rebecca? Sarah was quiet for so long I thought she wasn't going to answer. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, I may have looked her up on social media. And I may have created a fake profile to follow her Instagram. To see if she was posting pictures with Emma or talking about their relationship. The casual way she admitted to cyberstalking my sister's ex-girlfriend made my skin crawl. What name did you use for the fake profile? Emma Henderson. I nearly dropped my phone. You used my sister's name to stalk her ex. It was just a generic name. There are probably hundreds of Emma Hendersons on Instagram. But you chose that specific name because it made you feel closer to her. I started pacing, too agitated to stand still. Question 3. Our wedding registry. You insisted on registering at Crate and Barrel instead of Target because Emma mentioned once that she liked their dinnerware. How many other registry decisions were based on Emma's preferences? Sarah's silence stretched for nearly a minute. The bedding, she finally admitted. Those blue sheets you said were too expensive. Emma posted a picture of her bedroom once and had similar ones. What else? The coffee maker. The throw pillows in the living room. The art we bought for the hallway. Her voice was getting smaller with each admission. I thought if our house felt like somewhere she'd be comfortable, she'd want to visit more often. I looked around our living room with new eyes, seeing it as the shrine to Emma that Sarah had carefully constructed. The photography prints of Pacific Northwest landscapes that Emma loved. The exact same brand of throw blanket that Emma had mentioned buying from RI. Even the books on our coffee table, environmental science texts and hiking guides that aligned with Emma's interests rather than mine. Question 4. The Morrison Project deadline that you texted Emma about this morning. There is no Morrison Project deadline, is there? Sarah shook her head miserably. So you lied to Emma to make her worried about me, hoping she'd call or offer to come help. I felt that cold anger crystallizing in my chest again. Even after I explicitly told you not to contact her, you went ahead and tried to manipulate the situation. I panicked, Sarah whispered. I thought if I could just talk to her, explain things. Explain what? That you've been obsessed with her for 3 years. That you married her brother as part of some delusional plan to win her over. I stopped pacing and stared down at Sarah. Here's what I don't understand. Emma is gay. She's been openly gay since she was 16. She's never shown any interest in women who are in relationships with men. What exactly did you think your endgame was? Sarah looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. I thought maybe if she saw how happy we were together, she might realize that gender doesn't matter as much as connection. That maybe she'd never met the right woman because she was meant to be with me. The sheer delusion of it left me speechless for a moment. Sarah, that's not how sexuality works. I know that now, she said quickly. But 3 years ago, I was desperate. I'd never felt anything like what I felt when I met Emma, and I couldn't just walk away. So you decided to destroy my life instead. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I never meant to hurt you. I really did think I could learn to love you. But you didn't. No, she whispered. I didn't. The confession hung in the air between us like a death sentence. 3 years of marriage reduced to 5 words. No, I didn't. I stopped the recording and saved it to my phone, then immediately started a new one. Question 5. Our sex life. When we're intimate, do you close your eyes and pretend I'm Emma? Sarah's face crumpled. Marcus, please don't make me answer the question. Sometimes, she whispered. Not always, but sometimes. The words hit me like a physical blow. I thought about all those nights when Sarah would turn away from me afterward, claiming she was just tired. All those times she'd seemed distant even in our most intimate moments. Now I knew she'd been imagining someone else entirely. Question 6. The anniversary party on Saturday. What were you planning to do? Were you going to confess your feelings to Emma in front of everyone? No. Sarah stood up abruptly. God, no. I wanted one more chance to be near her before everything fell apart. Before what fell apart? Sarah wrapped her arms around herself, rocking slightly. I've been thinking about leaving you for months, Marcus. This morning wasn't some sudden breakdown. I've been planning to ask for a divorce after our anniversary. The revelation shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. You were going to leave me anyway. I couldn't keep living this lie. It was killing me inside. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. But I wanted one last weekend pretending we were a happy family. One last chance to see Emma smile at me like I was someone important in her life. Jesus Christ, Sarah. I resumed pacing, my dress shoes squeaking against our hardwood floors. So Saturday night was supposed to be what? Your grand finale before destroying our marriage? I thought maybe I'd tell Emma how I felt after you and I separated. Give her some time to process it, then see if there was any chance. There isn't. The words came out harsher than I'd intended. Emma is gay, Sarah. She's not questioning, she's not fluid, she's not going to suddenly develop feelings for her brother's ex-wife. You've wasted 3 years chasing someone who will never, ever want you back. Sarah's face twisted with something ugly, pain mixed with desperate hope. You don't know that. People change. Feelings evolve. No, they don't. Not like this. I pulled up Emma's contact on my phone. You know what? Let's call her right now. Let's tell Emma exactly how you feel and see what she says. Don't. Sarah lunged forward, trying to grab my phone. Marcus, please, you can't. I held the phone away from her. Why not? If you really believe Emma might have feelings for you, let's find out. She'll hate me, Sarah sobbed. She'll hate both of us. She'll hate you, I corrected. I'm the victim here, remember? I'm the one who got used as a stepping stone to my own sister. Sarah collapsed back onto the couch, her whole body shaking. I know I've been terrible. I know I've hurt you in ways I can never fix. But please don't destroy whatever friendship I have with Emma. It's the only real thing in my life. The audacity of it stole my breath. Your friendship with Emma is built on lies, Sarah. You befriended her under false pretenses so you could stay close to someone you're obsessed with. That's not friendship, that's manipulation. It started that way, she admitted. But over the past 3 years, I really have grown to care about her as a person. Not just romantically. Question 7, I said, ignoring her attempt to justify the unjustifiable. How many times have you masturbated while thinking about Emma? Sarah's face went scarlet. I'm not answering that. You don't have to. Your face just did. I felt sick thinking about all the times Sarah had claimed to have a headache, all the nights she'd stayed up late on her laptop claiming to work on presentations. Question 8. Have you ever stolen anything of Emma's? A piece of clothing, a personal item, anything? The pause was too long. Sarah. Her coffee mug, she whispered. The ceramic one with the Mount Rainier design. Last Christmas when we were visiting, I put it in my suitcase. It's in our kitchen cabinet right now, isn't it? The one you use every morning. She nodded miserably. I drink my coffee out of it and pretend we're having breakfast together. I stared at this woman I'd married, this stranger who had built an entire fantasy life around my sister, and felt something break inside me that would never be repaired. Question 9, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. The business trip to Portland last month. You said your company was sending you there for a marketing conference. There was no conference, was there? Sarah's shoulders slumped further. She looked like a marionette with cut strings. No. What did you do in Portland for 3 days, Sarah? I rented a car and drove to Seattle. Her voice was barely audible. I stayed at the Hotel Monaco downtown. The same one where Emma posted those Instagram photos from her work retreat last year. The methodical nature of her deception was staggering. Did you contact Emma while you were there? I went to her favorite coffee shop. The one on Capitol Hill that she's always posting about. Sarah wiped her nose with her sleeve. I sat there for 4 hours on Tuesday morning, hoping she'd come in for her usual order. And did she? Yes. For the first time since our conversation started, Sarah's face lit up with something approaching joy. She came in around 10:30 a.m., wearing those hiking boots she got for her birthday. She ordered a courte with oat milk and a blueberry scone. I felt like I was going to throw up. Did you talk to her? I pretended to be surprised to see her. Said I was in town for work and what a crazy coincidence. Sarah's voice grew stronger, like she was reliving a cherished memory. We talked for 20 minutes. She seemed genuinely happy to see me. Because she thought you were her sister-in-law making friendly conversation, not a stalker who had traveled 350 miles to manufacture a chance encounter. The word stalker made Sarah flinch. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Question 10, and Sarah, I want you to think very carefully before you answer this one. I leaned forward, staring directly at her. Have you ever been inside Emma's apartment without her knowledge? The silence stretched for 30 seconds. 40. A full minute. Sarah. She gave me a spare key, she said finally. Last September when she was going out of town for that conference in Vancouver. She asked if we could water her plants and bring in her mail. But you went back other times, didn't you? When she wasn't expecting you. Another devastating pause. Twice. Maybe 3 times. Jesus fucking Christ. I started pacing again, too agitated to stay still. What did you do in her apartment? Nothing terrible. I sat on her couch and imagined what it would be like to live there. I looked through her books, read the notes she'd written in the margins. I tried on one of her sweaters. Sarah's voice broke. The blue cardigan she wore to our wedding. It still smelled like her perfume. You broke into my sister's apartment to play dress up with her clothes. I had a key. It's not breaking in if. It absolutely is breaking in. I shouted, loud enough that Mrs. Patterson's dog started barking next door. Emma trusted you with that key for a specific purpose, and you violated that trust to feed your sick obsession. Sarah curled into herself like she was trying to disappear. I put everything back exactly where I found it. She never knew. That doesn't make it better, Sarah. That makes it worse. I pulled up my recent calls and found Emma's number. I'm calling her right now. She needs to change her locks immediately. Wait. Sarah jumped up, panic flooding her features. Marcus, if you tell her about the apartment, she'll call the police. I could be arrested. Good. Maybe you should be arrested. Please, she begged. I'll give her key back. I'll never go near her apartment again. I'll move out of Phoenix entirely if that's what it takes. Just please don't tell her about this. I paused with my finger hovering over Emma's contact. The recording app was still running, capturing every word of Sarah's confession. Tomorrow was Thursday. The anniversary party was Saturday night at 7 p.m. Emma's flight landed Friday afternoon at 2:15 p.m. I knew because Sarah had asked me to pick her up from the airport. A new plan began forming in my mind. Something more comprehensive than just exposing Sarah's lies. Something that would ensure everyone understood exactly what kind of person they'd been celebrating for 3 years. I'll make you a deal, I said slowly. I won't call Emma tonight about the apartment. But on Saturday night, at our anniversary party, you're going to tell everyone the truth. What do you mean? I mean you're going to stand up in front of both our families and explain exactly why you married me. Every detail, Sarah. The obsession with Emma, the fake business trip, the stolen key, all of it. Sarah went white as paper. I can't do that. It would humiliate me in front of everyone. Good, I said. Because you've humiliated me for 3 years. Sarah stared at me like I just sentenced her to death. Marcus, you can't be serious. My parents will be there. Your parents, Emma, everyone we know. Exactly. I stopped the recording and saved it, then started a new one. Question 11. How many other lies have you told our families about me to get closer to Emma? I don't understand. This morning you texted Emma claiming I was stressed about some fictional work project. What other stories have you invented about my mental state, my health, my problems to manipulate her into giving you attention? Sarah's face crumpled as she realized where this was heading. Just small things. Nothing major. Define small things. Last Christmas I may have mentioned to your mom that you'd been having trouble sleeping, so she'd worry and call Emma to discuss it. The words tumbled out faster now, like a dam breaking. And in March when Emma was considering that job offer in Portland, I told her you'd been really homesick for Seattle and missing family. The scope of her manipulation was breathtaking. You've been using fake concerns about my well-being to orchestrate Emma's involvement in our lives for 3 years. I never said anything that would actually hurt you, Sarah said desperately. Just little things that would make people worry enough to check in. Question 12. I felt that cold calculation settling deeper in my chest. Our joint savings account. We have $23,000 saved for the down payment on a house. How much of that money have you spent on Emma-related expenses? The guilty look that flashed across Sarah's face made my stomach drop. What expenses, Sarah? The Portland trip cost about $800. Hotel, rental car, gas, meals. She wouldn't meet my eyes. And I may have sent Emma some gifts over the years. What kind of gifts? Books, mostly. Hiking gear for her birthday. That expensive water bottle she mentioned wanting. Sarah's voice got smaller with each item. The camping equipment she used for that trip to Olympic National Park. How much total? Maybe $2,000. Free at most. $3,000 of our money that you spent on gifts for my sister without telling me. I pulled out my phone and opened our banking app. Sarah, I'm looking at our account right now. There's a charge from REI in Seattle for $847 on February 15th. Emma's birthday isn't until July. Sarah buried her face in her hands. She posted on Instagram about wanting to upgrade her hiking boots. The ones she had were falling apart. So you spent $847 on hiking boots for Emma and told me the withdrawal was for your dental work. I scrolled through more transactions, my anger building with each suspicious charge. Barnes & Noble, $156 on March 3rd. What books did you buy her? A first edition of Silent Spring. She mentioned in her Instagram stories that it was her favorite environmental text in college. Amazon, $234 on April 12th. A professional-grade camera for her nature photography. I kept scrolling, finding charge after charge that I'd never questioned because I trusted my wife. Jesus Christ, Sarah. You've stolen thousands of dollars from our joint account to fund your stalking. It wasn't stealing. It was our money, and I was using it to make someone we care about happy. Someone you're obsessed with, I corrected. Emma doesn't even know these gifts are from you, does she? You send them anonymously. The silence was answer enough. Question 13, and this is the big one, Sarah. I leaned forward, staring directly at her. Have you ever told Emma that you love her? Sarah's face went through several emotions, panic, desperation, and something that looked almost like relief. Once, she whispered. Last month during that phone call when she was upset about her breakup with Jessica. My blood went cold. Emma had called me crying about Jessica ending their 6-month relationship, and I'd spent an hour on the phone trying to comfort her. But apparently, Sarah had made her own call. What exactly did you say to her? She was crying, saying she felt like she'd never find someone who really understood her. And I couldn't help myself. I told her that someone already loved her more than she could ever know. Sarah wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara further. I said that person would wait forever if necessary. The room started spinning slightly. What did Emma say? She thanked me for being such a good friend and said she was grateful to have me as a sister-in-law. Sarah laughed bitterly. She completely missed what I was trying to tell her. Because she's not interested in you, Sarah. She never has been, and she never will be. You don't know that, Sarah said with renewed desperation. People can change. Circumstances can change. Once you and I get divorced. Stop. I held up my hand, feeling nauseated. Just stop. Emma will never want you, Sarah. Even if I didn't exist, even if she wasn't gay, she still wouldn't want someone who spent 3 years lying to her and manipulating her and stealing from her brother to fund an obsession. Sarah stood up abruptly, her composure finally cracking completely. You think you know Emma so well, but you don't see how she looks at me sometimes. How she lights up when I text her. How she always makes time to talk to me even when she's busy. She does those things because she thinks you're her friend. Maybe it started that way, but feelings can develop. No, I said firmly. Saturday night, when you tell everyone the truth about our marriage, Emma is going to understand exactly what you've been doing to her. And she's going to be disgusted. Sarah's face twisted with rage and desperation. If you make me do this, I'll tell everyone that you knew. That you were complicit in everything. The threat should have worried me, but instead it crystallized my resolve. Go ahead. Try to convince our families that I somehow knew my wife was obsessed with my sister and decided to help her stalk Emma for 3 years. See how well that works out for you. I walked to our bedroom and started pulling clothes from my dresser, stuffing them into the overnight bag I used for work trips. Where are you going? Sarah called after me. Hotel, I said without looking back. I can't stand to be in the same house as you tonight. Marcus, wait. We can still fix this. Call off the anniversary party, tell everyone we've decided to postpone it. We can get counseling, work through this together. I turned back to face her one last time. Sarah, there is no together anymore. Saturday night, you're going to tell everyone the truth, or I'm going to play them the recordings I made tonight. Either way, our marriage ends this weekend. The Hampton Inn on University Drive wasn't exactly the Ritz, but it was clean and anonymous and 17 miles away from Sarah's desperate phone calls. I turned off my phone after the 8th attempt, needing silence to process the recordings I'd made. 3 hours of audio that documented the systematic destruction of everything I believed about my marriage. I sat on the generic beige comforter with my laptop open, transcribing key quotes from Sarah's confessions. The stolen apartment key. The fake Instagram profile to stalk Rebecca. The $3,000 in unauthorized gifts purchased with our joint savings. Each revelation felt like discovering another tumor in what I thought was a healthy relationship. At 11:47 p.m., I made a decision that would have seemed impossible 12 hours earlier. I created a group text with my parents, Emma, and Sarah's parents, everyone who would be at Saturday's party. Asterisk K everyone, small change of plans for Saturday. Instead of casual mingling, we're going to do something more structured. Sarah has some things she wants to share about our marriage journey. Think of it as renewal vows, but more personal. Please plan to arrive at 7 p.m. sharp. Thanks, asterisk. My phone buzzed immediately. Emma, asterisk that's so sweet. Sarah must have something really special planned, asterisk. Mom, asterisk how romantic. Your father and I will bring the good camera, asterisk. Sarah's mother Linda, asterisk I'm so proud of you too. 3 years and still finding new ways to celebrate your love, asterisk. I stared at their responses, feeling sick about what Saturday would do to these people who genuinely cared about us. But Sarah had made this choice when she decided to build our entire relationship on a foundation of lies and obsession. Thursday morning brought 17 missed calls from Sarah and a text that made my blood pressure spike, asterisk I drove to Emma's work yesterday. Didn't go in, just sat in the parking lot for 2 hours watching her through the lobby windows. I know you think I'm crazy, but seeing her helps me think clearly. We can still fix this, asterisk. I screenshotted the message immediately. Sarah was escalating, becoming more unstable as Saturday approached. The fact that she was now admitting to physically surveilling Emma at her workplace crossed into genuinely dangerous territory. I called Emma from my car in the hotel parking lot. Marcus. I tried calling you last night, but it went straight to voicemail. Sorry, I turned my phone off early. Listen, I need you to do something for me, and I need you not to ask questions. Okay. Emma's voice carried that familiar note of concern that had been present in all our conversations since Tuesday. When you get to Phoenix tomorrow, don't go to your hotel first. Come straight to my office. I'll pick you up from the airport and we'll drive there together. Why can't I go to the hotel? Marcus, you're really starting to worry me. I thought about Sarah sitting in Emma's work parking lot, watching her through windows like some kind of predator. Emma, I need you to trust me for 36 more hours. After Saturday night, everything will make sense. Is this about whatever's going on between you and Sarah? The question caught me off guard. What makes you think something's going on between us? She's been texting me every few hours since Tuesday asking if I've talked to you, if you seemed okay the last time we spoke, whether I thought you were handling work stress well. Emma paused. It's like she's monitoring our conversations. Because she was monitoring our conversations. Sarah was using Emma's concern for me as a way to stay connected to her, even after I'd explicitly told her to maintain no contact. Emma, how many times has Sarah texted you since Tuesday? I don't know, maybe 15 times. She keeps asking the same questions in different ways. Emma's voice grew more uncertain. Yesterday she asked if I'd ever noticed you acting distant or preoccupied during family gatherings. When I said no, she suggested maybe I should call you more often to make sure you're not isolating yourself. The manipulation was breathtaking in its audacity. Even after our confrontation, even knowing I was planning to expose her, Sarah was still trying to use fake concerns about my mental health to maintain her connection to Emma. Don't respond to any more of her texts, I said firmly. And Emma? When you land tomorrow, stay with me until the party. Don't go anywhere alone. Marcus, you're scaring me. Is Sarah dangerous? I thought about the apartment break-ins, the surveillance, the 3-year campaign of deception and theft. I honestly don't know anymore. Friday afternoon arrived with the kind of blazing Phoenix heat that made the asphalt shimmer like water. I stood outside Sky Harbor's baggage claim at 2:47 p.m., 17 minutes after Emma's flight had landed, checking my phone obsessively for updates. The plan was simple: pick up Emma, drive straight to my office where we could talk privately, then figure out how to handle the next 28 hours until the anniversary party. What I hadn't planned for was Sarah. She was standing near the Southwest Airlines pickup area, wearing Emma's stolen blue cardigan despite the 107-degree temperature, holding a handwritten sign that read, Emma Henderson, welcome home. Her hair was unwashed, her makeup smeared from crying, and she had the manic intensity of someone who hadn't slept in days. Jesus Christ, I muttered, pulling out my phone to call Emma. It went straight to voicemail, which meant she was probably still on the plane or navigating the terminal. I parked in the short-term garage and jogged back to baggage claim, my dress shirt immediately soaking through with sweat. Sarah was pacing now, clutching her sign and checking every face that emerged from the security corridor. She looked like a desperate fan waiting for a celebrity, completely oblivious to how unhinged she appeared. Sarah. I approached her carefully, like she was a startled animal. What are you doing here? She whirled around, her eyes red-rimmed and wild. Marcus. Perfect timing. I thought we could surprise Emma together, show her we're a united front. A united front for what? For our marriage. Sarah grabbed my arm with surprising strength. I've been thinking about everything we discussed, and I realize now that I've been approaching this all wrong. Emma doesn't need to know about my feelings. We can just be a happy family, the three of us, and maybe eventually. Sarah, let go of me. I pried her fingers off my forearm, noticing that her hands were shaking. You need to leave. Now. No, you don't understand. I brought gifts. She gestured toward a large shopping bag at her feet. That new Patagonia jacket Emma was looking at online last week. The one that costs $340. And a first edition copy of the Monkey Wrench Gang that I found at a rare book dealer in Scottsdale. The casual mention of monitoring Emma's online shopping habits made my stomach turn. How do you know what Emma was looking at online? Sarah's face flushed. I may have figured out her Amazon password. It's Green Mountain 23, the same one she uses for everything. But Marcus, I only use it to see what she needs, what would make her happy. You hacked into Emma's Amazon account. The words came out flat, emotionless, because I was beyond shock at this point. Sarah, that's a federal crime. It's not hacking when you care about someone. I've probably saved her hundreds of dollars by buying things from her wishlist before she had to pay for them herself. I pulled out my phone and started dialing 911, but Sarah lunged forward and knocked it out of my hand. The phone skittered across the concrete floor, coming to rest under a luggage cart 20 feet away. Don't you dare call the police, Sarah hissed. Emma will be here any minute, and we're going to greet her together like nothing's wrong. Sarah, look at yourself. You're wearing Emma's sweater, you're covered in sweat, you look like you haven't slept since Tuesday. Emma's going to take one look at you and know something's seriously wrong. She'll think it's romantic. That I care enough to surprise her at the airport. The delusion in her voice was complete, terrifying. Sarah had crossed some invisible line between obsession and complete psychological break from reality. She genuinely believed that showing up unannounced at the airport, wearing stolen clothing and carrying expensive gifts purchased with hacked information, would be perceived as romantic rather than deeply disturbing. I spotted Emma emerging from the security corridor, pulling her green roller bag and scanning the crowd. She was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, looking tired but happy to be home. She hadn't seen us yet. Sarah, I'm begging you. Walk away right now. Get in your car and drive home. Don't make this worse than it already is. But Sarah had already spotted Emma and was waving frantically, her handwritten sign fluttering in the artificially conditioned air. Emma. Over here. Emma's face lit up when she saw the sign, then immediately shifted to confusion when she registered Sarah's appearance. She approached us slowly, her expression growing more concerned with each step. Sarah. What are you doing here? I thought Marcus was picking me up. Emma glanced between us, clearly sensing the tension crackling in the air. Surprise. Sarah thrust the shopping bag forward. I wanted to welcome you home properly. I brought presents. Emma accepted the bag reluctantly, peering inside at the expensive jacket and rare book. Sarah, wow. This is too much. You didn't need to. I wanted to. I've been thinking about you all week, counting down the minutes until you got here. Sarah stepped closer to Emma, close enough that Emma instinctively took a step back. I have so much I want to talk to you about this weekend. I watched Emma's face carefully, seeing the exact moment she registered that something was seriously wrong. The forced smile, the way her shoulders tensed, the subtle shift to put more distance between herself and Sarah. That's really sweet of you, Emma said carefully. But Sarah, are you feeling okay? You look exhausted. I'm perfect now that you're here, Sarah replied, reaching out to touch Emma's arm. Emma dodged the contact smoothly, turning toward me with questioning eyes. Marcus? Maybe we should get going. I know you wanted to show me something at your office. The lie came so naturally that I realized Emma had picked up on Sarah's instability immediately. My sister had always been good at reading people, and whatever she was seeing in Sarah's behavior was setting off every alarm bell she had. Absolutely, I said, moving to take Emma's suitcase. Sarah, we'll see you tomorrow night at the party. Wait. Sarah's voice cracked with desperation. Emma, I was hoping we could spend some time together today. Just the two of us. There's this new hiking trail in South Mountain I've been wanting to explore, and I thought. Actually, I'm pretty tired from the flight, Emma interrupted gently. Maybe another time. The rejection hit Sarah like a physical blow. Her face crumpled, then immediately hardened with something that looked dangerously close to rage. Another time, she repeated slowly. There's always another time with you, isn't there, Emma? Always some excuse why we can't spend real time together. Emma glanced at me with genuine alarm. Sarah, I don't know what you mean. We spend time together whenever I visit. Supervised time. Chaperone time. Always with Marcus there, always in groups. Sarah's voice was rising, attracting stares from other travelers. When do we get to be alone together? When do we get to really talk? I stepped between them, my protective instincts kicking in. Sarah, stop. You're making Emma uncomfortable. Am I? Sarah looked directly at Emma with desperate hope. Am I making you uncomfortable? Or are you just afraid of what might happen if we're alone together? The question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Emma's face went pale as she finally understood what Sarah was really asking, what she'd been asking all along. We should go, Emma said quietly, her voice carefully controlled. Right now. The drive from the airport was suffocating silence punctuated by Emma's occasional glances in the rearview mirror. Sarah had followed us out of baggage claim, shouting my name until security intervened, but I'd spotted her silver Honda Accord 3 cars back as we merged onto the 202. She's following us, Emma said quietly, confirming what I already knew. I know. I took the exit toward downtown Phoenix instead of heading to my office, hoping to lose her in the maze of one-way streets around Chase Field. Emma, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be bad. How bad? I thought about the recordings on my phone, the 3 years of systematic deception, the $3,000 in stolen gifts. Remember how I asked you not to have contact with Sarah this week? Yeah. And you said she'd been texting you constantly, asking about me? Emma nodded, still watching the mirrors. Every few hours since Tuesday. It was getting weird, Marcus. Like she was. I don't know, monitoring me somehow. She was. And that's just the beginning. I turned left on Washington Street, then immediately right into a parking garage. Sarah's Honda sailed past the entrance, missing our turn. Emma, Sarah didn't marry me because she loves me. What do you mean? I found a parking spot on the 3rd level and turned off the engine, then pulled out my phone and opened a voice recording from Tuesday night. She married me to get close to you. The next 23 minutes were the most difficult of my life. I watched Emma's face cycle through confusion, disbelief, horror, and finally a sick understanding as she listened to Sarah's confessions. The fake business trip to Portland. The stolen coffee mug. The apartment break-ins. The hacked Amazon account. When the recording ended, Emma sat in stunned silence for nearly 5 minutes. She's been in my apartment, she finally whispered. Without permission. Multiple times. With the spare key you gave her last September. Jesus Christ. Emma pressed her hands against her face. Marcus, she's been stalking me for 3 years. It gets worse. I showed her the bank statements on my phone, scrolling through months of unauthorized purchases. She spent over $3,000 of our joint savings buying you gifts. The hiking boots, the camera equipment, all those books that showed up at your apartment with no return address. Emma's face went white. The camping gear I used for Olympic National Park. The water filtration system. The emergency beacon. She looked up at me with growing horror. Marcus, that equipment probably cost $1,500. I kept wondering who would send me such expensive things anonymously. Now you know. But why? I mean, I understand having a crush, but this. Emma gestured helplessly. This is psychotic behavior. I thought about Sarah standing at the airport in Emma's stolen sweater, holding that handwritten sign like a desperate fan. She convinced herself you might have feelings for her. That your sexuality was flexible, or that you just hadn't met the right woman yet. I've been openly gay since I was 16. I know. She knows. But she built this elaborate fantasy where if she could just get close enough to you, you'd realize you were meant to be together. Emma laughed bitterly. By marrying my brother and pretending to be my friend for 3 years. That's not romance, Marcus. That's manipulation and fraud and probably several felonies. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, asterisk I know you're turning Emma against me but she deserves to hear my side. I'm driving to your office now, asterisk. I showed Emma the message. She doesn't know where we are, but she's escalating. Yesterday she admitted to sitting in your work parking lot for 2 hours, watching you through the windows. Workplace surveillance. Emma's voice was getting steadier, more analytical. I recognized the tone, she used it when dealing with crisis situations at her nonprofit. Marcus, I need to call the police. This has gone way beyond marital problems into criminal territory. Wait. I grabbed her arm gently. I know this sounds crazy, but I want her to confess publicly first. Tomorrow night at our anniversary party. Emma stared at me like I'd lost my mind. You still want to have the party? After everything you just told me? I want everyone to know what she really is. Your parents, my parents, her family, everyone who's been celebrating our marriage needs to understand that it was built on lies and obsession. The cold calculation in my voice surprised even me. She destroyed 3 years of my life, Emma. She violated your privacy, stole from both of us, and manipulated our entire family. I want consequences. Emma was quiet for a long moment, processing. What if she doesn't confess? What if she just denies everything? I held up my phone with its 47 minutes of recorded admissions. Then I play these for everyone to hear. My phone buzzed again. Sarah, asterisk Emma's flight landed an hour ago. Where are you? I'm worried something happened, asterisk. Then another, asterisk I drove by your office. Your car isn't here. Did you take her somewhere else, asterisk? And another, asterisk Marcus answer your phone. I know you're trying to poison Emma against me but she needs to hear the truth about our marriage, asterisk. Emma read the messages over my shoulder, her expression growing darker with each one. She's completely lost touch with reality, hasn't she? Completely. I started the car again. Come on. Let's go somewhere she can't find us and figure out how to survive the next 18 hours until this nightmare ends. We ended up at the Westin downtown, where I booked a 2-bedroom suite under my company's corporate account. Emma sat on the leather couch in the living area, staring out at the city skyline while I ordered room service and tried to figure out our next move. My phone had buzzed 37 times in the past 2 hours with increasingly frantic messages from Sarah. Asterisk I know you're hiding from me but this is cruel, Marcus. Emma deserves to know how much I love her, asterisk. Asterisk I'm parked outside your office building. It's 6:23 p.m. and your car still isn't here. Where did you take her, asterisk? Asterisk Emma if you're reading this over his shoulder, please just give me 5 minutes to explain. Everything I've done has been because I love you, asterisk. She thinks you might be reading her texts, I told Emma, setting my phone face down on the coffee table. She's trying to communicate with you through me. Emma wrapped the hotel bathrobe tighter around herself. This morning I thought Sarah was just an overly friendly sister-in-law. Now I'm finding out she's been living some kind of elaborate fantasy about me for 3 years. She looked up at me with haunted eyes. Marcus, what if she doesn't stop after tomorrow? What if exposing her publicly just makes her more desperate? The question I've been avoiding since Tuesday morning. Sarah's behavior was escalating rapidly, from secret obsession to workplace surveillance to airport confrontations. Public humiliation might push her completely over the edge. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I said, though privately I was wondering the same thing. Right now I just want everyone to know the truth about what our marriage really was. Emma picked up my phone when it buzzed again, reading Sarah's latest message aloud, asterisk I'm driving to your parents' house. Maybe they know where you went, asterisk. She's going to your parents. Emma stood up abruptly. Marcus, we have to warn them. They don't know how unstable she is. I was already dialing my dad's number. He answered on the second ring, his voice cheerful and unsuspecting. Marcus. We were just talking about tomorrow's party. Your mother's been cooking all day. Dad, is Sarah there? Has she come by the house tonight? No, should she have? Is everything all right? I could hear my mother in the background asking who was on the phone. Dad, if Sarah shows up tonight, don't let her in. Tell her you haven't heard from me and don't know where I am. Son, what's going on? You're worrying your mother. How do you explain to your father that your wife has been stalking your sister for 3 years? That she's spiraling into increasingly dangerous behavior? That tomorrow night's anniversary celebration was going to destroy multiple families? There are some problems between Sarah and me that we're working through. I just need you to trust me on this. If she comes by asking about Emma or me, don't give her any information. The silence on the other end stretched uncomfortably. Marcus, your mother and I have been married 42 years. Whatever problems you're having with Sarah, running away isn't the answer. I'm not running away, Dad. I'm protecting Emma. Protecting her from what? From Sarah? Dad's voice sharpened with confusion. Marcus, Sarah loves Emma like a sister. She's always been. Dad, please. Just trust me until tomorrow night. Everything will make sense then. After I hung up, Emma was staring at her own phone with a stricken expression. She found my hotel reservation, she said quietly. Sarah just texted me directly, asterisk I know you're staying at the Phoenix Marriott. We need to talk before the party tomorrow. I'll be in the lobby at 8 a.m., asterisk. My blood went cold. How the hell did she get your hotel information? I don't know. I booked it through the airline website using my credit card. Emma's voice was getting shaky. Marcus, she somehow accessed my private travel information. That's not just obsessive behavior, that's sophisticated stalking. I thought about the hacked Amazon account, the stolen apartment key, the fake Instagram profile to monitor Rebecca. Sarah had been conducting systematic surveillance operations for years, developing increasingly sophisticated methods to track Emma's activities. We're not going back to your hotel, I said firmly. You're staying here with me tonight. Emma nodded gratefully, then looked at her phone again as another message appeared. Asterisk Emma I know Marcus is filling your head with lies about me. I've loved you since the moment we met and I know you feel something too. The way you look at me, the way you light up when I text you, that's not friendship. Give me one chance to prove we belong together, asterisk. The delusion was complete and terrifying. Sarah had convinced herself that Emma's normal friendly behavior was evidence of romantic interest. 3 years of polite conversations and family interactions had been reinterpreted through the lens of Sarah's obsession until she genuinely believed Emma was reciprocating her feelings. She's not going to accept rejection tomorrow night, Emma said quietly. When you expose everything at the party and I make it clear that I'm not interested, she's going to blame you for turning me against her. My phone rang. Sarah's name flashed on the screen, and against my better judgment, I answered. Marcus, thank God. Where are you? I've been driving around for hours looking for you and Emma. Sarah's voice was breathless, manic. I went to your office, your parents' house, even that Mexican restaurant you like on Camelback. Where are you hiding her? I'm not hiding anyone, Sarah. Emma and I are having a private conversation about some family matters. Family matters that don't include me. I'm your wife, Marcus. Emma's my sister-in-law. I have a right to be part of this conversation. The possessiveness in her voice made my skin crawl. Sarah, you need to go home and get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a difficult day. Difficult why? Marcus, what are you planning to do at the party? I looked at Emma, who was listening to every word with growing alarm. Exactly what I told you on Tuesday night. Everyone's going to learn the truth about our marriage. The silence on the other end stretched for nearly 30 seconds. When Sarah spoke again, her voice had changed, colder, more calculating. If you try to humiliate me in front of both our families, I'll tell Emma about the things you said about her. All those times you complained about her being too needy, too dependent on family money. How you said she'd never find a lasting relationship because she's too selfish to compromise. Emma's face went pale. I'd never said any of those things, but Sarah was betting I couldn't prove that to Emma's satisfaction. It was a desperate move, but a clever one, using fictional complaints to drive a wedge between Emma and me. Nice try, I said calmly. But Emma knows me better than that. Does she? Emma, are you listening? Ask Marcus about the conversation we had last Christmas when you were dealing with Rebecca's drinking problem. Ask him what he really thinks about you always dating women who need fixing. The lie was so specific, so plausible, that for a moment I saw doubt flicker across Emma's face. Sarah had spent 3 years studying our family dynamics, learning exactly which buttons to push to cause maximum damage. Sarah, I said quietly, if you ever contact Emma again, I'm calling the police. The line went dead. Saturday evening arrived like a storm front, all pressure and electricity. By 6:45 p.m., both families had gathered in our backyard, 43 people mingling around the rented tables while Sarah's mother arranged flowers and my dad tested the microphone we'd set up near the gazebo. Everyone was dressed in their anniversary best, completely unaware they were about to witness the systematic demolition of a 3-year lie. Sarah stood near the dessert table wearing the same emerald green dress she'd worn to Jake's wedding, the night she'd first seen Emma. She'd done her makeup carefully to hide the exhaustion, but I could see the manic energy thrumming beneath her composed surface. Every few minutes her eyes would dart to Emma, who was helping my mom arrange appetizers while deliberately avoiding Sarah's gaze. This is beautiful, sweetheart, my mother said, squeezing my shoulder. Sarah must have worked so hard planning this surprise renewal ceremony. I'd let everyone believe Sarah had organized some romantic gesture for tonight. It would make the truth land even harder. At exactly 7 p.m., I clinked a fork against my beer bottle and called for attention. The conversations died down as 43 faces turned toward me expectantly. Sarah moved closer to the microphone, assuming we'd planned some coordinated speech. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began, my voice steady despite my racing heartbeat. 3 years ago, you celebrated Sarah and me beginning our lives together. Tonight, you're going to learn why that marriage is ending. A ripple of confusion went through the crowd. Sarah's face went white as she realized I wasn't following whatever script she'd imagined. Sarah has something she wants to share with all of you about why she really married me. I gestured toward my wife, who was frozen in place like a deer in headlights. Sarah. She stared at me for 30 seconds that felt like hours. Her parents looked bewildered. Emma had gone completely still near the appetizer table. Finally, Sarah stepped toward the microphone with shaking hands. She started, then stopped. Looked around at all the expectant faces. I can't do this. Then I will. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the Bluetooth speaker. 3 days ago, I asked Sarah why she seemed so distant lately. This is what she told me. I pressed play on the first recording. Sarah's voice filled the backyard with crystal clarity. I should have married Emma. I should have married your sister. The effect was immediate and devastating. Gasps from both sides of the family. Emma's face went ashen. Sarah's father dropped his wine glass, sending red liquid spreading across the patio stones. I let them absorb that before playing the next clip. Emma mentioned during dinner that she lived in Seattle and wasn't seeing anyone seriously. Then your Aunt Carol made some comment about how it was such a shame Emma preferred girls because she'd make some lucky man very happy someday. That's when I knew it was hopeless. So you what? Settled for me instead? My recorded voice asked. It wasn't supposed to be settling. I thought. God, Marcus, I thought if I couldn't have her, maybe I could have the next best thing. I watched 43 people simultaneously understand that they'd been celebrating a marriage built entirely on deception. Sarah's mother made a strangled sound. Emma backed away from the crowd, her hand pressed to her mouth in horror. But I wasn't finished. I played Sarah admitting to breaking into Emma's apartment. To stealing $3,000 for anonymous gifts. To creating fake Instagram profiles to stalk Emma's ex-girlfriends. To hacking Emma's Amazon account to monitor her online shopping. Each confession landed like a physical blow. By the time the recordings ended, Sarah had collapsed into a chair and both families were staring at her like she'd grown a second head. Emma, I said quietly into the devastating silence. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But everyone needed to understand what our marriage really was. Emma walked over to Sarah, who looked up with desperate hope in her eyes. Emma, please, I can explain, Sarah started. Emma cut her off with 4 words that ended everything. Stay away from me. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers were signed and Sarah had moved back to Oregon with her parents. Emma changed her locks, her passwords, and her phone number. She's seeing a therapist now to process 3 years of unknowing manipulation. As for me, I'm learning to trust again, one day at a time. But at least now I know the truth about what I was never really married to in the first place.